today I am making a wreath for my front door for spring, and I'm using the oval board. Now every year I purchase the same daisy bunch every single year. I buy this bunch of daisies at Michael's. Let's see if the tag is still on. I definitely do not pay full price for them, obviously. There's 10 stems on them. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So there's 10 stems on a bunch. And I know they come in different colors, the daisies, and they're so pretty. They have these little like white lavender type things. Sorry, I'm not like totally up on my florals. They are in the spring. They're categorized as spring. And it just says bush. So if you type in, and I think they're called mini daisy bush. Now these were $9.99 a bush. However, I'm sure I paid 50% off. I never pay full price. So I don't know if Michael's has their spring florals out yet. If they do, watch for the sales, because they always have their florals at the beginning of, like pretty much around now, they always have their florals at 50% off. I can give you this SKU. I sure can. It is 91518-72473. I order them online at Michael's. You can get them at .ca and .com. And like I said, you can get the bushes in different colors. I'm doing the oval. You absolutely can use the ring for this method for sure. Because it's for my own personal door, I'm going to use the oval because I love the size of the oval on the front door. It's just so beautiful. But I don't want to use a ton of the daisies. Like I said, they're not cheap. So throughout the last month, I've been doing a bunch of wreath kits. And I have a lot of the wreath kits I've been using is the white snowdrift mesh. So I have a bunch of the white snowdrift mesh all over my craft room. So I'm going to use it up. We are going to put a piece of mesh in every row and two sprigs of daisies, and look how nice it fills up. And you don't have to use daisies. You can use any flowers you want. Let's get started. I'm preloading my board closed. So I'm going to be using this hole to the outside, this hole to this hole, this hole to this hole. I'm not using the hole to the inside of the board. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to preload. So I'm using that hole, those sets of holes, then the inner, and then I will use the outside of the board. Look how cute this is. Isn't that cute? It's Hello Spring with the pinks and greens and everything. It would look fabulous, you know, on your wreath. Since I'm making it for myself, I'm not going to put a sign on. I'm kind of simple. I'm just going to put a bow, and I just want to see the daisies. But you can most definitely put any kind of sign on your wreath and do this method. Super, super cute. So you would just put your cable mounts on the back, and then you can zip tie it to the board. Same with if you do it with the ring. So I'm going to be using every row, and there's 20 rows on the oval. Okay, 20. Okay, so I've loaded all of these two, and now I'm going to go from the hole to the outside of the board. Okay, so it's much easier to preload your board before you get, we start going. I cut my mesh at 10 inches. Now, I'm using leftover snowdrift mesh. It looks like I have two different kinds here. It's like I said, I'm just using leftover mesh. You won't be able to tell when I put it in that it's two different mesh. And if you can, meh, it's for me anyways. But you can use any color you want. Okay, so I'm doing a kerfuffle, pinching it in the center. Let's flip it over, flipping it up. So the two sides are both the same. I'm going to put my nub, I called this a nub, in my center. So there's 1, 2, 3 in my center, zip tie about a fingertip. Okay. And this is what it looks like with your kerfuffle. Then you're going to take a daisy, a clump of daisies. Now what I've done is I push everything on this stem all the way up to the top. So they're all pushed up. Now I'm not using these green leaves. I don't like these green ones, but I do like these lighter green ones. And then I'm just going to cut it, I don't know, 2 inches down. You don't have to leave too big of a stem. Okay, so we'll do another one. So I push this one down, and then I push all the rest right up to the top. So they're all like that. And then just snip it off. That's why I love this bush, because it is very full. There's lots on it. So you got like one, there's probably should be another daisy there. Lots probably fell off. I think last year I bought like 50 bushes of these because I used them in wreaths and everything. Okay, so you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 daisies on one stem. So it's pretty good for your money. And I don't say that a lot about Michaels. No offense, Michaels. Push it in and cut it. So because there's 20 rows on here, and I'm using 2 of these per row, you need 40 of these. I know that seems a little extreme, but that's, that's only 4 bushes. So if you get them on sale, it's not too bad. And like I said, you can definitely do this on the ring and it won't take as many. It won't take as many pieces or stems as the oval. But when the oval's done, it's a nice big size. And I'm going to stick it in this zip tie. Now where I'm zip tying, I'm going to come down. I'm zip tying right at the base of my daisy bush. Now if you're using some kind of, another different floral, you'll have to decipher how far out you want your daisies. You don't want your daisies or your flowers, you don't want them too short because we want them sticking up out of the mesh, like mine are. I just found if I zip tied it right to the board, to the nub, to the end of the piece right here, it was the perfect size. So that was my guide thing. Okay, and then you can just go over with a little bit of glue. You don't have to, but you can. And I just cut this off a little bit. And then cut the zip tie off. And that's it. That's the wreath. Okay, so kerfuffle ends the finished factory ends at the sides, the right and left, curl up. So when you let it go, it curls up. Bring the bottom up to around the middle, top, just overlap that bottom seam just a bit. So you have something like this. Kind of looks like an envelope. We're just going to scrunch it up, flip it over because we want the seam down. You're going to flip it upward so that both sides are about the same size. And then our nub, we are putting right into the center zip tie, about a fingertip, pull and push down. I push down as I'm pulling. Okay. And then we're going to take a stem of daisy. It's cut at 10 inches. And I'm using 2 different snowdrift mesh. They're just extras of what I had. Zip tie. Some of mine are missing flowers, but that's okay. And just bend it just slightly, just so it kind of stands up a little bit more. Zip tie and snip off the zip tie tails. And spread them out a bit. Go over with a little bit of glue just so they don't move. Okay, kerfuffle. Kerfuffle. Flip it. Your nub, which is where the center part is, and you're always going the same way in your zip ties. So your mesh is always going the same way. You're putting the flowers all going the same way. And this is just an easy way that you don't have, it looks very full of flowers, but you don't have to use as many flowers. So I did do a different way last year with the tulips, where I did kerfuffles just on the outside row. So that's another way that you can check out on our YouTube channel. Or you can try it this way. You just have a little bit of the mesh sparsely going through. It's actually quite pretty. The mesh is 10 inches and you need 20 pieces. 20 pieces of mesh and 40 pieces of your daisies or whatever you're using. You could use tulips, no problem. If you tried to fill this whole thing up with tulips or even with daisies, it would cost a lot of money. So, but when you add a little bit of mesh, it's not so bad. Alrighty, we are done, That didn't take too long. And it's big. Isn't that pretty? Isn't that pretty? Okay. So there is the back. So you can see I did 3, and that middle one is where the mesh went, and the outer one is where each piece of daisy went. We're going to put a zip tie up at the top here and make a hanger, and then I'm going to make a bow. Oh, it most definitely will fit between 2 doors. There's not too many Unique and Creek wreaths that won't fit between 2 doors. Okay, so I didn't glue this or anything yet, but I think I'm going to put it around here. And like I said, kitty corner, I'm going to put a bow right here. Instead of in the middle, I'll put it to the side. Isn't this beauty? That's pretty. And you can see it's very low profile. So for shipping, it shouldn't cost too much. And the finish is looks to be about 26 by 20. So it's a beautiful size for a front door. Okay, so I'm going to make my tail 16. No, is that 16-ish? I'm going to make it to the end of the bow maker, which is, I think this is about 20 inches. 21 inches. Now I'm going to make my bow a little bit different than you guys, than you've probably seen. I'm going to do my tails. I'm going to cut my tail first. Okay. And this, I don't know what happened to it, but it doesn't have a core. So I'm going, and I don't want big, huge loops. I think I'm only going to make them at 5 inches. So 5 inches. You're making a lion wreath. Okay, I'm going to come in with a little bit of this yellow gingham. Going to do 2 loops, only because I just want a little pop of yellow to bring out the little bit of yellow that's in the center of the daisy. So nothing wild and crazy. And then I'm coming back in with the red. Hello, hello. And hello on YouTube. So I'm just making my tails a little bit shorter. And I'm going to do 2 at about 4 inches. I did 2 red at the bottom, just 1 yellow gingham, and then 2 red at the top. And of course, you can do your bows however you want. Now, I had some yellow bling rope. I think I might add a little bit of bling rope to my I'm going to get wild and crazy. Or maybe put a little bit of yellow bling rope in there. It's wild over here at Unique in the Creek, I'm telling you. Anybody ever put bling rope in their bow? We'll see how that looks. sorry guys, I'm thirsty. Okay, I'm going to take my zip tie and the pop cleaner. Ooh, I think that will be pretty. Yeah, a little bling, right? I'm going to slip this out carefully and put it right on top of my zip tie. And I always do it this way because I'm not coordinated enough to put the zip tie through it, and I don't like how pipe cleaners don't make it really tight. So if you're careful, you can do it like this. Okay, flip that over. Bring the zip tie head to the back. Put my pipe cleaner through and then pull this super tight. Ooh. Okay, so this up here is the top. Right here. And I'm going to go just over here, kind of opposite my butterfly. I'm going to take my pipe cleaners and find 2 holes. Here. Now you could put it straight in the middle if you wanted. I'm going to just put it just off to the side there. Okay, you just kind of pull it till it hits your mesh and give it a twist. Alrighty, and we'll start opening up those loops. Now the bling rope I'm going to have to mold. Now if you heat it up, you can actually mold the bling rope because it keeps wanting to flop down. And if I heat it up, it will do what I want. I'll glue my little butterfly on. And we're done. Alrighty, that's all I got for you guys today. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you everybody for watching and for your support. And I can't wait to see what you guys make. Bye everybody.